Hey everybody, welcome to Monster Tutorials. I'm Eduardo Talbert. Today we're doing a super cool project. I'm super excited about this one because it turned out really cool, right? So I've been talking about doing this Fauxidermy, which is like faux taxidermy, right? This whole idea started with a cardboard, like a paper mache skull that I wanted to build up and put onto a plaque, and it turned out sweet. Check this out. So that's today's project. Let's get started. Let's get this show started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm starting with a paper mache skull. It's a small one. If you cannot find one of these in your area, I have put links below for this exact same one. I'm going to start by doing some prep to this skull. I'm going to have the jaw open, right, like the mouth is open. I'm going to put some eyes. For the eyes, we're using these Follow Me eyes, the small ones. If you don't know how to make these, there is a tutorial. I'll put the link below for Follow Me eyes. They're super easy. Takes you 5 minutes to put them together. First step, I'm going to get the jaw open. For that, I'm just going to cut it open with this and then reset it with some glue and some toothpicks. I'll be careful with this step, but I'm just using a regular blade, and this is paper mache, so it's paper, so it should cut real easy. And I'm just going to cut between the teeth, and then here around this jawbone, and on the other side, same thing. And across the bottom, we can remove the jaw. There you go. You have to rip it all the way because we're going to put it back together. So I'm going to set it exactly like I want with some glue and some toothpicks. For this part, I'm using this 2-part epoxy. And you mix it equal parts. Now this will be more permanent than hot glue. Hot glue peels up after a while, and I want this to be a nice prop. I'm just going to put a few drops where it touches, just to reinforce it. And then using the toothpicks themselves, I'm going to use them to hold the jaw where I want it. I'm using some masking tape to hold the jaw in place. I'm going to let that sit and dry all the way. This is almost solid. It's still a little bit wobbly, which we'll reinforce later. But I can go ahead and start gluing the eyes in. So we're using these guys. They're just regular Follow Me eyes. I'm using the brown ones. I have some green ones here, but I like the brown ones. And I'm just going to hot glue those right here in the eye socket. We'll reinforce it with the epoxy glue later. This is just to hold them in place. And while it's still melted, try to line them up so they look like they're looking straight and it doesn't look cross-eyed, unless you want a crazy looking monkey. I'm just lining them up so they look straight, right at you. Let that dry. I'm going to take one of these old school fangs that we used to get on Halloween back in the day, and still now. You can get this whole package for $1. We're going to cut them up. We're going to use these as the top and bottom teeth. There's 1, 2. Just trim it a little bit, maybe the corners. There you go, bottom teeth. And these I'm going to glue right here, and these I'm going to glue up here. I might have to like bend it a little bit, but it's no big deal. This is pretty soft. Just put some glue in there, slide them right into the gums right here. This guy's pretty solid. I reinforced it with some hot glue. Now let's do these. Just going to put a little bit of hot glue right on the gum. Not too much so I can reposition it. And I'm sliding this in like that until I get exactly where I want. Now we do the top. Same thing, hot glue. I'm just going to glue it up here. This dude is solid. Jaw is solid, teeth are solid, eyes are solid, and he can't keep from staring at you. Check it out. It's time to corpse it. For that, I just have a little bit of water here and plain old school glue. And some toilet paper with no print and no pattern on it. Okay, this is like the flattest one I could find. The inside of it is really flat. There's no quilting or anything like that. We're just going to rip some pieces so we don't have any straight edges on these. It helps to rip a bunch of pieces ahead of time. Just stirring the water on the glue until it's really mixed. Now all we're going to do is just put a little bit of glue where you want it, like this, and put a strip of toilet paper on there. And just smooth it on. And we're going to build it up all around the face. If you want bigger eyebrows, you can build it up out. If you want nostrils, you can build it around. So we're going to do that. We're going to cover all this area right here where you can see the toothpick and where the teeth are glued, all that. We're going to have some cheeks built in and so on. I'm not too worried about the back because it's going to have fur on the back. So I'm just going to stop around right there. Make sure you blend the edges real well. And you won't be able to see any of the seams. You're going to start to get some wrinkles and those look cool, I think. Alright, for the lips I'm just folding a piece of toilet paper in half just to give it a little more volume. Then I'm putting some glue right there on the upper lip and the fake teeth. We're just going to place it there exactly where you want it. You can anchor it over here and you can turn it around. And here you decide how much teeth you want to show. If you want a little bit bigger, just pull the lips up a bit with your fingers or with the back of the brush. For the eyelids, we're going to do the same as we did for the lips. I'm taking some of the toilet paper, I'm going to fold it in half. We're going to glue it right where you want the eyelids to go. And smooth it in. Just like that. You adjust it as you need. I'm just going to bring it up a little bit here on the side. And we have an eyelid. Let's do the same here and on the top. And then we're going to do the lips on the bottom as well. I'm using a popsicle stick to push the lids just a little bit down. And just adjust it as you need. This guy started to have an expression, huh? So I did the lips and this stuff is still wet, so I'm going to let it dry. In the meantime, I'm going to take this, I'm going to twist it into this shape right here. It's just like an 8, and this is to make a nose. Because this guy, all he has is a triangle. So this is going to go right on top, right there. And when you have corpsing that is that thick, like right here and here, just let it dry all the way before you put some more on. Otherwise you'll have the moisture trapped in there and it'll never dry and it'll just become all mushy. That's pretty dry. I'm going to glue the nose right here. A little drop of hot glue right here. And we're putting that nose right there. Now I'm going to fill this area up with toilet paper that is wet with the water and glue mixture. We're also going to do the cheeks. Just make a little ball of toilet paper. Putting some glue and water there. And kind of joining the two. And that's just to add a little bit of bulk. You can then take a little piece of toilet paper again, just put it over the bridge of the nose and glue it right like you want it. I'm just taking the excess off over the nose and just peeling it right off. And we have a nose. I'm going to make a little bit of eyebrows here that look kind of mean. But that's just the same thing. I'm going to glue some toilet paper right here. Do the same on this side. Okay, for the cheeks we're going to connect right behind the canine all the way down to right behind this canine and fill all this up. Just make sure it caves in to make it look even more aggressive. Get this wet but very gently. Same thing on this side. That side and that side. And now let's do the lower lip. Here's another trick. I'm taking this little roll. This is just some toilet paper that has been rolled. Putting it in like a taco and folding it. We're going to use this thick edge as the lip. Just soak it in. And it's like rinse and repeat. Just keep doing this all over your skull. You can sculpt this toilet paper as deep as you want or as thick as you want. I like the canines showing, so I bring it down just a little bit where the canines are and up around it. Just like that. I am going to seal all these loose pieces down here and we're going to let this dry and then we'll see if we need another layer or not of toilet paper. I'm also going to seal the nose while we're here and I'm just going to put a piece of toilet paper over the nose and then we'll poke holes once it dries. That is perfect. Drying time. I will see you in a bit. I let this dry overnight. This thing is very dry. All I did here is poked the nostrils and just add a little bit of water glue just to set it in place, but that's all. So the next step, which is something I love to do, is take the whole thing and paint it with latex paint. I like to use exterior latex, which is really rubbery, and I'll just create a nice rubbery coating all outside of this head. I'm going to paint all the areas where there's paper. I'm going to avoid obviously the eyes and the teeth, but I'm also going to paint the inside of the mouth so you cannot see the paper in there. I also like starting with black latex because you can start making it lighter and lighter from there with lighter shades as you finish your project. So the deeper areas will be black like they're supposed to, and then as you dry brush they get lighter and lighter where they're supposed to have highlights. All I'm doing is just painting it black all around. If you get it on your teeth or your eyes, don't worry, you can scrape it off with a toothpick or with a little metal pin. Go ahead and paint the big areas with a big brush like this, and then just take a little brush for all the detail areas around the eyes and teeth. This guy is completely covered now, painted it black. So I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to set this aside over here. And while that dries, we're going to take this base. They sell these at craft stores. I think people use them horizontally and they put stuff on it, but we're going to use it as a mount for the head for this Fauxidermy thing. So this is pretty smooth here. There's a little rough, so I'm just going to run a little bit of sandpaper over it, and I'm just going to stain it with our old trusty wood stain. I'm using this Rust-Oleum wood stain that I've been using for a lot of my tutorials. I still have this much left. So we've used like this much in all the projects. So let's open this. Just like we do with the others, I'm just going to paint over it and then wipe the excess off with a paper towel. And just take the excess off. That will reveal all the grain. See? That's looking good right there. Alright, I'm going to do the edges too. And we're going to set that to dry all the way. And that looks good. It's almost like we knew how to do woodworking. Just a little stain and a few paper towels. Set that to dry all the way because we're going to spray polyurethane over it to make it like shiny, so it looks like it was like professionally done. Now before I paint, I'm just taking this little pick and just picking out all the little bits of paint that are not where they're supposed to, and this latex paint peels right off. Also cleaning the eyes. See, that comes right off. This guy is totally dry now. So let's get started with the paint. I'm only painting the front of the face. So I'm going to go only up to like the middle of the forehead here. And then I'm going to go around here. There's a like cheekbone behind it and behind the jaw and straight down. And we're going to paint the face part. For that I'm using a whole assortment of browns. Some black, a little bit of white to lighten it up. And the brown is just to keep it a little bit more organic so that it matches the rest of the monkey. So this first coat is going to be a base coat. It's going to be almost covering the whole thing. If there's any really deep areas that stay black, that's cool. It's also going to take the shine away because right now it's just too shiny, as you can see. And it's just the first coat is the darkest one, so a lot of brown, a little bit of black to dirty it up. The touch of white is just to make it, to give it a little gray tone. It's not to lighten this up at all, it's just to make it gray. And I'm just going to start brushing this dude all the way. You can vary the tone a little bit if you want, like make it some areas darker and lighter. I'm going to do pretty much a coat of this gray brown color, and then I'm going to start playing with the lighter and darker areas. Right, there's the initial coat of the gray color. This will dry a little bit more opaque than that. It will be like this, so it starts looking like real skin with texture and everything. this part is still wet, so that will be drying in a minute. Once that dries, I decided to go around the eyes lighter, maybe a little bit more brown with a little bit more white. And then also some of the areas maybe here around the cheeks and around the nose. And finally, we'll take a little bit of white of the light one, and with a very dry brush, we're going to highlight some of the things that stick out. I'm going to set that aside to dry. And while that dries, I'm going to take the base, which looks really awesome. And I'm going to add some of this triple thick polyurethane, and this is the glossy kind. I'm just going to go in the garage, spray this, just one coat or two, and let it dry, and then we'll come back to work more on this face. Let's do some highlights. I'm using just brown and a little bit of white, still kind of dark. And I'm just going to hit around the eyes, on the top of the nose, maybe on the cheekbone stuff that you need to highlight. Since we worked really hard on making those eyes, I think we need to make them stand out a bit. All right, let's do a little bit of the lips, maybe the cheekbones as well. All right, for this last piece, I'll let this dry, and I'm just going to do more like a reddish brown, like this, and white. I have a very light pinkish gray. We're just going to take the brush, put a little bit of paint, and then take it right off. Then we take this dude, and wherever you want to highlight, let's say here on the eyebrow, just with a very dry brush, just hit it very gently so it only picks up like the top layer. Let's do the nose, just the bridge of the nose. See those wrinkles right there? Just to this side too. Just adds a little bit of dimension to the whole paint process. Your project will look better than everybody else's. This guy is looking pretty good. Alright, next, well, while that dries, I'm going to just paint the teeth with the yellowish brown paint, and then I took some clear nail polish and added like a couple drops of yellow food coloring and a drop of green to make it dirty, and a tiny little bit of red, so it's almost like a brown tint on there. And it thinned it out a bit, as you can see. It's pretty liquid, but it works awesome, creating a glaze over the teeth that is not this perfectly white. Right, for the teeth I've put some yellow, brown, some nasty color, and I'm going to paint especially the edges. Right, you can paint the whole tooth if you want, but I'm getting deep in the creases here under the lips and everything. Same down here. Get the back of the teeth if you think they're going to be visible. Teeth are nice and yellow. You can take a Q-tip of your finger and just take the excess off if you want. This will leave the stain in between the teeth. Now we can put this on there. It's very subtle, so do 2 or 3 coats. Let that dry. And let's talk about this guy's neck. I'm using this little cup, and I'm going to cut this top edge off, and we're going to glue it to the back, so he has some sort of like a neck area that can be used to mount it to the plaque. And the way that's going to go is this is going to be mounted on the plaque, and then the head will be mounted onto this. That will give us like a little neck area, so it doesn't look like it's just sticking out of the plaque. I'm going to use this 2-part epoxy glue to make this more permanent, but for now I'm just going to tack it in place with my hot glue gun. And I've decided the angle that I want is almost a 90-degree angle sticking straight out, but a little bit less, just a tad, so you can actually see the guy's eyes when you look at it. Settled, and then hold it until it sets. We're going to mix the epoxy glue and glue it all around for a more permanent fixture. Now this is the part that I think is going to be really cool. We're going to be using fur. This, if you saw the last vlog, I went and got this for $3 at a local craft store. It's a synthetic fur. And it appears to be a piece that is about 1 foot by, I don't know, maybe 8-10 inches. We're going to use this to cover that guy. So I'm going to let this dry real quick, and then we're going to start trimming this fur to the shape that we want to cover. It has to come all the way down to the end of this base so that it matches against the plaque. Right, first step. I'm going to take the midpoint and just tack glue it right there to the middle of the forehead. So, and then we're going to tack it all the way around. And I was thinking to the back of this cheekbone right here. So this will go like that. So leave a little bit of room there. And you have this straight line. Don't worry about it. We're going to do something really cool about that. So it has to be receded just a little bit back from where you want the hair to be. I want a clean edge. This is crimped from the packaging, so I'm going to cut a little strip off to start with fresh, nice hair. Right, that aside. Get any loose fur off. You can save this for other projects. You have a nice, clean edge. First step in the middle. This was folded, so I can see the middle right there. So I'm going to take that middle and tack it to the middle of the forehead here with hot glue. That's why I told you not to paint the whole face. You don't need to be painting all the way when we're going to cover it with fur. Just holding it in place for the hot glue to set. Because this is a little bit elastic. It has some give when you pull it. So if you tack it real well and wait till it's nice and set, you can kind of pull it a little bit around so it gets nice and tight around your face right here. Right, so we're going to go around the eyebrows and all the way down to this cheek. So let's pin right here. All right, now let's pin some right here and then right here, and I'll repeat the same on the other side. And don't burn yourself. See that? Nice and glued. Let's go to the other side. How's that guy looking? That's pretty cool, huh? I think I'll take a picture for Instagram right now. See? To make it easier to work, I'm going to just trim the excess. But make sure you don't cut it too short, because I want this to reach all the way to the edge of the neck right here. So cut maybe 1 inch from there. So right about there. It's easier to work with when we mount it on the thing. I'm going to take some regular school glue. I'm going to just take a Q-tip or something with school glue and run it all around this edge, just to make sure this hair is really sealed in there. Don't get it on the hair, so just get the area of the edge and the skull. Take a tiny little bit of glue. And this might be just overkill, but I just want to make sure that this is nicely glued. And make sure you don't get the fur cut in there. I'm just joining the fur and the face. Just a tiny little bead running all along the seam. That bead of glue is drying, but I don't need it to be all the way dry yet. We can go on to the next step. Now this next step is going to make this project, I think. I saw this on a video, so I hope it works out. We're going to take some of the leftover fur. I'm going to zoom in a little so you can see what I'm doing. So keep your glue. you're going to take the little piece of fur and we're going to cut some of the fur off, and we're going to just grab a section of it, right? You see that section? Take that section along the line, grab it pretty good so it doesn't get tangled or messed up, and just cut some of the hairs out without that backing stuff. All right, and it looks like that. So you cut it, see how it looks like that? Has a straight line and it's all hairs. Right, now let's do that. I'm going to start here at the top. I wanted to have a widow's peak like a lot of monkeys do, which means it comes up. It comes up and back in, and we're going to start gluing this hair in there. And the way we do it is aim the hair the same way, so it's all going backwards. So I'm aiming it backwards. Take a little bit of drop of glue, put it on the forehead, and gently lay the hair there like you want it. Okay, I'm going to do that all around and now trim to the same exact shape of the face that we want. That's why I told you we didn't have to worry about this perfectly straight line, because we're going to bring it in a bit, maybe here where the cheeks are, and then back out like that, and you won't see that seam. That glue there helps blend the seam, and it'll blend the hairs that you'll be gluing. So this will be tedious for sure, but this is what's going to make this project really cool. So again, find a nice little tuft of hair here in a line. There's the hair. If it's too thick, you can spread it out a bit, like that. And grab your glue. And keep the glue very thin. And put your hair down there. Press it against it. Just push the base of the hairs into the glue. Here's a hint. Keep one side of the toothpick wet with glue and one side dry. And you'll use this one to push the hairs in, but make sure you don't get glue in it. If you get glue on it, then just get another one. Then after we put the hairs in, you can use this dry side to push them in and give them the shape that you want. So when you want that contour of hairs coming all the way around, you can use this to give it that shape. So I'm going to continue doing that. I'll probably come out to like here, to the top of this cheekbone, and back in, all the way back to where we are right here. And that'll be that. And then we'll do the same on the other side. Perfect. Check it out. You cannot even see the seam anymore. See that? Looks like the hair starts growing right out of the skin. And that's what we want. So let's do that all around the head. And we move on to the final step, so we can be done with this dude. By the way, his name is Billy. What do you think? It's not that hard after a while. You get used to it and you get the hang of it, and it goes in pretty quick. Now right now I'm not pulling any of the loose hairs out. I'm going to glue everything, wait till the glue has set all the way, and then we'll kind of brush it out to get all the excess pieces off. And if there's any bald spots, we can work on those. Look at that, it's totally seamless. This is an awesome technique. It's a little bit of glue here, which that'll dry. See it? So this is pretty much done, except I'm going to put those little like sideburns coming in just a little on this side and on this side, and we can move on to mounting it and finishing it up. I finished putting the hairs all around the hairline, and as you can see, it looks seamless. You don't see the seam anymore. It's pretty cool. So now I'm going to go on the underside and just put a piece of the fur right here, almost like a goatee. That piece is just going to go like this. I'm just going to put the seam all along this edge of the bottom jaw, and then if you can see the seam, we'll do the same technique, putting hairs all around the jaw. Look at that chin piece. That's going to look freaking awesome. So I'm going to glue it all the way to the edge and straight to the back so it meets this hairs right there, and the same on the other side. I'm going to tack the edges with a little bit of hot glue, and then we'll run that bead again and put the hair treatment around this chin and the jawline. That chin piece is perfect. Now we just need to do the hairs all along this line so it kind of blends and you don't have this seam showing right there. See that seam? So we're going to do the same technique. I won't bore you with it by showing you every little bit. I'm just putting hairs all around. This guy's chin is done. We still need to brush it a little bit, right? But it's pretty done. If you need to go out here, maybe we can come out a little bit more. I've finished putting all the hair now. Now here I noticed, if you notice, there's a gap going where the mount goes, so we'll have to fill that up, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm taking this leftover strip of fur, and I'm just going to lift this piece and just put it all around the base of this cup, like that. That'll blend the hairs and it'll disappear, as you can see. So I'm just going to do that with the hot glue gun. Now that is perfect. See that? It's looking good. So now last step is I'm going to take this and just glue the back of the head over here and start gluing the fur all the way to this edge. Once we get to this edge, we can just cut the excess off. And there's no science to this. I'm just going to start stretching and gluing and stretching and gluing. And if I have any left, I'm just going to cut it. That's glued and that's glued. And we're going to end up with a few of these leftover pieces, which I'll cut with the scissors and fold them over on top of each other. Cut straight in, see that? And the same here. Now we just fold that under there, like this, and glue it in there. Just fold, brush in the hair until it becomes a seamless piece. Right, so now we just need to clean this up a bit so that we have this circle ready to put glue and mount it on the plate. That looks pretty centered right there. I haven't glued it yet. I'm just kind of messing around to see where I want it to go. So I'm going to prepare some of this epoxy glue and go all around that plastic rim and glue it straight onto the plate. So Billy is mounted on the plate right now. It's pretty solid. The last thing I'm going to do is just a glaze over the skin, and that is just plain old school glue with a brush. And it's just a very thin coat to give it just a little bit of sheen so it doesn't look like it has like a paper skin. And I'm simply just brushing the glue all around him. Next, I'm going to do some cleanup. The eyes are really dirty, and we want those eyes to look like they're alive. So I'm taking just some plain old window cleaner on a Q-tip. I'm just going to wipe them clean, and the other side as well. Eyes are better, huh? I will still need that glaze to dry, but now I'm going to take some hot glue and make some spit around the fangs, around the inside of the lips and the bottom. This is an optional step, it's up to you. I think it'll look cool to have some like drool coming from his mouth. Let's let this dry and we should be pretty much done. All right, this guy is done. Check it out. So that's it. Now I added some hot glue for Drew. I did the glaze, so the skin is a little bit shinier. It's not like shiny like it's wet, but it gives it a little bit more skin-like texture and look. Clean the eyes. They still follow you real good. So I'm going to mount that right up there. So if you think this is a cool project, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you next time.